Folks, welcome back to the Bobby Bo Show. Here's the moves it starts with. It's the Caro-Kann, and this is one of the most tactical games of all time, so make sure you stay focused, because after knight to c3, d captures e4, knight captures e4, I'm going to play knight to f6, and after they take my knight, I'm going to take back with my e-pawn. Now I have doubled pawns, but this is common opening theory, known as the Tartakower variation. You can get the Gotham chess course, or Daniel Naroditsky has a video on this. I'll link the video in the description. So we're still playing opening moves, and the next move is knight to f3, and now bishop to d6, and we can castle soon, putting the bishop on a good diagonal here, and now they go for bishop to e2. And if they went bishop to d3, I would play bishop to g4, pinning the knight to the queen, but since they have their bishop on e2, I'll play bishop to f5, and now they play c4. And what's the idea behind c4? Well, it seems to me like they want to play c5, and I think for a little bit about this, and whether or not I should try to prevent that with something like b6, but I'm just going to move my bishop back to c7, keep my bishop on the strong diagonal, and I'm not worried about this pawn because I think that's overextending their pawns a little bit. Makes this pawn a little bit weak, and it's already committing to this pawn structure when they could wait and be more versatile. So I'm just going to ignore that and castle, and after they play c5, you'll see it's an inaccuracy according to the engine, and I'll just go bishop to c7, and still an even game, but the engine slightly preferred white before, and now I have a strong bishop, and after they castle, I develop my knight can't come here, so it's either here or here, and knight to d7 is the common move in this opening, because you can come out here, or you can slide the rook over, and then put the knight on f8, and then your king is very safe when there's a knight on f8, so very common. And after bishop to e3, now I play the rook move, giving me the option of knight to f8, but also developing my rook to the open file. And here they play knight to h4, now attacking my bishop, but apparently a bit of a mistake. And I'm going to go back to g6 like I saw in the Daniel Naroditsky video. But apparently I should just go bishop to e4 or e6, and then I guess I'm just putting my bishop on d5. And then look, I have two very powerful bishops. And it's a positional advantage, even material, but the engine prefers black. It says +1. So if I play well, this would probably be an easy position if I play well. But instead, I remembered the Daniel Naroditsky video, and after knight to h4, I played bishop to g6, because after they take my bishop, I now have a pawn cube, and I'm controlling all of these squares, and my king just seems very safe, and I don't see a problem with that. But apparently d5 here is a good move. They're probably just going to try to break open the center and force a passed pawn down the board. They can use their bishops and rooks in the attack, so maybe a slight advantage for white now. But after queen to d2, there's a tactic, and this is the first of many tactics in this video, and both of us are going to miss a lot of them. But let's see if you can find it. And maybe you looked at knight captures c5, because after the pawn takes, now you can take the queen. But then you realize that the bishop is defending the queen, so they take your queen with the bishop. And then you lost a knight, you took a pawn, and you traded queens. So was it worth it? Well, now there's no one defending the bishop, and your rook can take the bishop, so you can just do this. And I didn't see that. I didn't see the rook move here, taking the bishop, so I didn't go for this. But I was looking for it. I was trying to figure out how I can make this work, but I missed it. I played b6. I figured these are overextended, so maybe I should just try to attack them. Maybe they're weak, but they're not. This is a bad move. I should be playing apparently f5, and I'm not really sure. Maybe the knight's coming over, maybe the queen's more active, maybe the rook comes up here, defends the pawn when the bishop comes here. But maybe I'm in a bit of trouble now if they play the right moves. But they play b4, and now I could just take this pawn and then take the open file here. But instead, I play a5. Another mistake. They can just play bishop to f3. Now this pawn is undefended, and I can't defend it. If they play bishop to f3, though, it could get tactical. But instead of bishop to f3, they play a3. Another miss, and now we start trading pawns. A captures b4, followed by a captures b4, and then b captures c5, followed by b captures c5. And now, I'm noticing that this pawn's undefended, and they could play bishop to f3. So I'm thinking about that, and how I can defend it. And the knight can't go here. And if it goes back here, then I lose this rook, and I don't really want to trade rooks, because if I trade rooks, then they have the open file. So I'd rather them take my rook, and then I take back with my rook, and then I have the open file. So I figured I'll just play queen to e7, and then go queen to e6 to defend the pawn. But this is a very complicated position, and I think it's more complicated than either of us realized, because now they could be completely winning if they just play rook captures a8, because now bishop to f3, attacking the pawn, and if I go queen to e6 to defend the pawn like I planned, then d5. And if I take the pawn here, they take back with the bishop, and now I'm forked, losing my rook. So I have to do something like queen to e5, threatening checkmate, but now they just play d6, and I'm in big trouble. I could take this pawn maybe, but then they take my bishop, and now they're about to get a queen. So I have to take the pawn here, and then they take my knight, and now I'm down a piece, and a pawn. So trouble here, big trouble. with this queen move. If they play rook captures a8 first, but no. Now they finally play bishop to f3, but now it's not as good. They should have played it a little bit earlier. And now this pawn's undefended, so I have to defend it. What do? Well, the best move here is knight to e5, because after they take my knight, I play queen captures e5, threatening checkmate. And now it's a drawn position if they play the right move, which is bishop to f4. Because after bishop to f4, I take the bishop, they take my queen, I take their queen, and then they play bishop captures c6. Now they're forking my rooks. So, I could take, they could take, and now, okay, maybe white has a passed pawn, but the pawns are even 4 to 4, and I should be able to stop them from promoting drawn game when they could have had a victory. So they can't take my knight here, but if they play bishop to e2, then they're still winning, slight advantage. And I think it's because these 2 pawns versus my 1 pawn, and they can get all their pieces behind it, threaten a promotion, and eventually win. So, big trouble here. But instead of playing knight to e5 here, I play a worse move, queen to e6, defending the pawn, but this is still what I was planning on doing. But once again, they have to take my rook here, but they don't see why. And do you see why they have to take my rook? Because I didn't at the time either. They played d5, and it looks like I might be in trouble here. Queen under attack, defended by the queen and the bishop, losing this pawn soon. Maybe they're going to start pushing down the board and getting a queen. Maybe I'm in trouble, right? But what's the move? And if you said c captures d5, you played the move I did, which is a big blunder, loses the game immediately. Because now they still have rook captures a8, and they're winning. Remember why? Because after rook captures a8, and I take back, they have bishop captures d5, the fork. And now I can't threaten checkmate or take their rook. But instead of taking my rook, first they play bishop captures d5, and now look. Now I play queen to e5, threatening checkmate, and because they didn't take my rook, after they block the checkmate, now I can take their rook. So they have to block the checkmate first, right? That's the biggest threat. So what do? Well, there's bishop f4, there's g3, there's f4, and if you play something like g3, that's probably the worst move, because now I can take your rook with my rook, and after you take back, then I take with my queen. So you have to attack my queen with your move. So the best move is f4, attacking it with your pawn, and stopping any back rank checkmate threat. But now I have queen captures a1, but instead of f4, they played bishop to f4, and now they're losing a piece and the game. But you have to find the right moves. What's the right move now? You take the bishop, take the bishop, take the rook, take the rook. Do you resign? You take the pawn? What would you do? Take a moment, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and let's look. If you play queen captures f4, now you have 2 pieces versus a rook and a piece, and they are about to get a queen. So you can't do that. And your queen's under attack, and your rook's under attack, and if you move your queen, your bishop's under attack, and if this bishop moves, then your knight's under attack. So you have one move that wins the game, and that move is queen captures a1. And look at this, beautiful move. If they take your queen, now you take back with the rook, and it's checkmate. They could block with their queen, and you could take with the rook, and then checkmate, or you can just play rook to e1, check, queen takes, and then take the queen, checkmate. So this back rank threat checkmate, because they did not take your rooks. So they can't take your queen, but you have hanging pieces. What can they do? Best move, bishop captures a8. Trading rooks now, you traded rook for rook, but you still have one move that maintains the win, and a couple other moves that maybe have a slight advantage, but are probably going to be a draw. So what do you do now? You take the bishop, you take the bishop, you do something else, take the pawn, take the rook. And if you take the bishop here, okay, you gained another piece, but now you have 2 hanging pieces. So they're going to take your bishop, and then your knight's still hanging. And that'll be an even game, because so far you've only traded rooks. But if you play bishop captures f4, like I did, now the queen's under attack, your queen's still under attack, their bishop is still under attack, this pawn's under attack, this knight is hanging. What do? Well, if they take your knight, your rook will be under attack, but then you can just take their bishop, defending your rook, and you'll be up a piece. So that's no good. And the only thing that they have going for them right now is that this pawn is passed, and it's almost to the end of the board, about to be turned into a queen. And if they take my queen, that might make it a little bit easier to promote it into a queen. So it's apparently the best move. But now I take their queen, and all the trades are done, and I'm up a piece. And I just have to stop this pawn, and then use my advantage, get a queen. So they play bishop to c6, and that attacks my knight, which is undefended. And if I move the knight, then I lose my rook. So I should move the rook here to defend the knight. And here I went bishop to d8, because I want to take this pawn, and then defend this bishop, after they play rook to d1. Now I take the pawn, and the rook defends the bishop, and I can move the bishop back. So after king to f1, I play bishop to a5, defending my rook now, attacking their rook. And their best option is to not trade pieces, because the more pieces they have, the more chances they have to pull off some sort of tactical trick. But I have plenty of time here. And after rook to c1, I play knight to b3, attacking the rook. And for some reason, after bishop to a4, I forgot that this rook is under attack, I don't know. And I just played knight to d4, missing the take here, but no problem, still winning. After rook to c5, attacking my bishop, I just play rook to b8. A brilliant move! Oh my gosh, because after they take my bishop, I checkmate. So this is somehow a brilliant move, but I thought it was pretty obvious. But I still got a brilliant move in there, so that'll be good for the thumbnail. And they see the checkmate threat, so they play g3, so the king can come out. But now, my bishop is under attack, and I should probably deal with that. So bishop to b6, attacking the rook, defending the knight, and also hitting this pawn. So just the best place to have this bishop right now. They have to move their rook, and what safe squares do they have? They can go back, they can come forward maybe. The knight is defending though, so good knight here. And these pawns are defending here, so good pawns. The pawn cube is too strong. They play rook to d5 now. And I realized that if I play rook to d8, attacking the rook, and my rook is defended here, so that's no problem. Also, now they don't want to trade rooks. And whenever you're in this endgame situation, they're just trying to think about how they can avoid trading pieces so that they can pull off some sort of trick. They know if they lose this rook, they have no chances. So they're trying not to trade the rook off. But where do they go? Well, there's actually no squares. The knight defends these squares, the bishop defends, the pawns defend, everything is defended. So there's nowhere to go. You have to trade rooks here, but they just play rook to b5, and now I take their rook. I finally see the knight take the rook. Missed it last time, but now bishop captures b5, and it's a pretty simple game after here, but I still have to figure out how to do it. And now the bishop is attacking this pawn. So bring the rook up to d2, and I'm attacking the pawns. If they push forward, I take this pawn, so they can't push this now. They have to defend it. Bishop goes back, blocking my rook off here, but that's no problem. And I'm going to start pushing the pawns down. First I play g5, they play h4, g captures h4, g captures h4, and now their pawns are disconnected. My pawns are all together. I can just walk over and take these pawns. I play g5, king e1, attacking my rook now, and here, just take the bishop. Okay, a rook is worth 5, a bishop's worth 3, but after we trade pieces, they have no more pieces, they just have 2 pawns. I'm going to take this pawn, now they just have 1 pawn, and their king cannot stop my king and pawns. Even if I didn't have this bishop, I'd still be completely winning. So they have to bring the king over to stop the pawn here. I play f5, so I can just play bishop to d8 to defend. And if they bring the king up here to take this pawn, then I just go down the board and get a queen. So they have to stop this pawn. They go back. I go forward. They move the pawn forward. Keep bringing the king up. King to h3. King to g5. Now my pawn's defended. f4 check. I'll just take the pawn. They take my pawn. But now just get out of the way. And we're going down the board getting a queen. Pretty quick here. Let's just see it. Checkmate in 53 moves with a brilliant move. That was a great game. Very complicated in the mid game there. Could have gone either way. But I do puzzles every day. I have a 2700 puzzle rating. And I probably won this game because I do more puzzles than they do. So I ended up seeing the tactic before they did. And that won me the game. So make sure you do your puzzles. Make sure you subscribe to The Bobby Bo Show. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Goodbye.